All right, good evening, everybody. It is straight up 7 o'clock. It is Monday, December 16th. I'd like to call this meeting of the regular Board of Trustees for the Village of Romeo to order. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Roll call, please. Bartholomew? Here. Edwards?
Here.
Fowler?
Yes.
Hart?
Here.
Kosnanski? Here. Sedell?
Here.
President Milton? Here. And I'm here, all here. We have a quorum. Excellent. Next up on your agenda is approval of the minutes. You have a copy of the minutes from our meeting of Monday, November 18th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. Support.
Motion by Edwards, support by Hart. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? You have next up the approval of the bills. You have two schedules. You have the vendor approval summary report in the amount of $60,334.98. And you have the, should have wrote that in my cheat sheet, the check register report with the grand total of expenditures outlaid from the village, $460,849.07.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Hart.
Support.
Support by Edwards. Discussion?
I do have a quick question. On the check register, about halfway down, maybe top quarter, there's cash and planning. There's a retainer. Is the last I can remember, we did like a not to exceed. He was working on things. Have we entered into a contract where we're retaining him every month? What is going on?
Yeah, he gave us a proposal for that, and then we approved it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just not remembering. Okay, that was it.
No problem. There were a couple things that I just wanted to point out to you in that check register report. You have an expenditure for Unitrix. It's $2,981. It was an expenditure that I approved. It's going to be a new web portal that will house all of our complete financials. So it'll be very easy once we get it up and running for any resident, anybody who wants trustees to access not only our current financials, but all of our historical data as well. So it'll all be in one spot, all online. A lot of the municipalities are utilizing that software just for transparency. So the new accountant Tim suggested that we purchase this. It was something that was mentioned when SEMCOG came in and gave their assessment, that we take a look at getting that software. So when Tim brought it up a second time, we initiated that conversation, had a meeting, and it had some reporting tools that allowed Tim to meet a deadline. So that's why I went ahead and approved that. So you'll see that expenditure there, and I'll let you know when that's up and running. I think they may even come in and give a demo just so that everybody can understand how it operates.
Where was that one?
Unitrix.
Middle of the page.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you see it down there under vendor?
Yep.
Okay.
Comes that an annual subscription or?
It is. Well, there's some training that's involved in this one, but it is a subscription
$29
base.
a year though.
No. And then you have three other checks. You have a Stewart Brevet and Whipple for $20,000. You have a Vitrano Consulting for $1425. You have a Watkins Ross for $1,200. Those are all associated with the audit report, this year's audit. So it's been completed. There should be one more check coming from Stewart Brevet and Whipple after they present to us in January the audit report. They'll give us the final invoice. They estimate it to be about $7,000. So it looks like we should certainly be within budget. So I just wanted to point out those three things.
Does that include DDA or is DDA separate?
The DDA it'll be line itemed over to theirs.
Out of that amount?
Right, the amount included the DDA's on it. Yes, but we'll bill that to the right line. Okay, that was all I wanted to just make mention. So we had motion and support. Any other discussion? All right, we'll take a roll call, please. Hart?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Sedell?
Yes.
Kosnanski?
Yes.
Fowler?
Abstain.
And Bartholomew?
Yes.
President Milton? Yes. Okay, motion carries. Motion carries. Next up, we have approval of the agenda. I just had one quick request. If we could move the leaf back discussion up before the DPW truck purchase. It just may affect the vote, so I just wanted to make sure I got the correct information out there.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda with the change of moving F to C.
Your support?
Support.
Okay, moved by Hart, support by Poznansky. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we have an agenda. Next up, we have correspondences. I just was in receipt of one letter of correspondence from Rhonda Kraft. It was generated from our November meeting, just noting it, and I have forwarded it on to the parties that it involved. Next up, we have a special presentation from the Energy Reduction Coalition. We have Jim Lamoretto, did I say that correctly?
Yes, you
with
did.
us, and Mr. George Adams. I don't know if he's presenting or not, but please come up to the podium. And so we met with Jim, just FYI, I believe he gave a presentation as well to the DDA some time ago in an attempt to probably convert all of our all our street lamps and all of our building
long time
lights
ago.
to LED.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
anytime recently.
It was a while ago. We also met with DTE, and DTE was not able to be here tonight. They're also preparing a proposal, and hopefully that will be ready for our January meeting. But thank you for your attendance tonight. Go ahead.
Okay. Like I said, my name's Jim Lamoretto. I work with the Energy Reduction Coalition. We're a nonprofit Michigan organization with a mission statement to accelerate the conversion to energy-saving devices, and predominantly we work with conversions to LED lighting. We've been in business for about 8 years now, and we've done 60 organizations, probably close to 50 or so have been municipalities. And in fact, we've done a lot of the municipalities in this area. We do more than just streetlights, but in the streetlight area, we do work with municipality-owned and utility-owned streetlights, where we come in and we pay all the upfront costs. We do an assessment, and the same goes with any of the village-owned lighting for building interior, exterior, parks. If there's library, fire stations, senior centers, all that type of work. We come in, we do an assessment of all your existing lighting fixtures, and we give you a breakdown by fixture of what your current cost of lighting is. And there's 4 main categories of lighting. Well, there's 1 main category and 3 other categories. The main cost of your lighting is obviously electricity. But in addition to electricity, you have your product cost. The bulb's not going to last forever, you need to replace it. You have your maintenance costs to get somebody to run to the store, grab the bulb, come back and place it in. And you have your disposal costs, the cost to dispose of the fluorescent lamps properly. Electricity is generally about 80–85% of the total cost, so that is by far the highest cost. So again, what we do is we go through all the facilities, all the street lights. We look to see what kind of lights, what wattage the existing lamps are there, and then we will provide you with a recommendation for what we would recommend that you replace those lamps with. Now, we don't manufacture lamps, so I'm not tied to any manufacturer. In fact, if you have a manufacturer that say, we really would like to use this light, as long as they do a good quality light, we have no issues. We're writing a check to somebody to buy those lamps. So it's not that we have any preference. Same goes with electricians. We have a number of electricians. Like I said, we've done a number of the communities around here. So we have a lot of local electricians that we contract with. But if there's someone that the village, it feels comfortable in using, that you use on a regular basis, as long as they're licensed, they want to do the work, they're capable of doing the work, we have no qualms in using them. Again, we're writing a check to somebody, so we rather use somebody that you guys feel comfortable with. But if you don't, like I said, we have a handful of electricians that we've used in and around this area that we feel very comfortable with using. And then we also provide a forever warranty. So as long as you're in the program, which the length of time that you're in our program could be one day. You could buy us out the day that we install all the product, or you can stay in the program indefinitely. It's intended to be an evergreen type contract where you never have to do a buyout to use the lights. What we do, how we get paid to do all this is that we say for internal lights, like lights in a room like this, as long as they're standard use lights, which we say is over 1,000 hours a year, we will guarantee you a 20% reduction up front of what you're currently paying and grow that 20% to 60%. For exterior lights, generally including also street lights, we started out at 10% and grow it to 30%. So again, when we'll cost out the lights by fixture, and then we'll say this is what you're currently spending, and before we change anything, we will get make sure everybody's in agreement that this is how, the basis of the calculation. And then we will say, here's what we would recommend, and then give you a chance, opportunity to look at it and say either yes or no, we'd like to use a different product. If you're not sure in what the product is that we're recommending, we will also come here and demo the product so that before we go and do the whole village, we'd want to make sure that you guys feel comfortable with the first handful of them before we do all the rest. And then, so again, we have the calculation. It says this is what your savings is going to be. And that savings starts at day one, and it grows every year. And it, depending on the type of lighting and the usage of the lighting, most of our programs to get from the beginning rate of either 10 or 20% to the ending rate of 30 to 60% generally takes about 20 years. But it doesn't mean that it's a 20-year agreement. That's just the length of time it takes to get from this rate of savings to the maximum rate of savings. And then how we get paid is then we look at what your actual savings are, and anything over that amount that we guarantee you is what we get paid. But if we say that the savings is going to be $100 and you're going to get $20 of that $100, if the actual savings comes in at $80, you still get your 20. I just get paid less. So the savings that I say you're going to get, you actually get. And generally, at first, the savings is about 1/3 goes to the village and 2/3 comes to us. And then by the end, it's about 90+% goes to the village and 10% comes to us. And the reason that we need that 10% is because of the forever warranty. Like I said, a manufacturer might have only a 5-year warranty, and theirs will only be for a product. Ours is product and labor. And it goes, if 20 years from now that light goes out, we provide inventory for you on site so that it's readily available. And if you're using DPW or some local staff to do it, whatever your current practice is, that's what the current practice for replacement would be. But instead of you writing the check to them, we write you a check, even if it's internal staff. So if we say, like to change a light bulb once we convert a fixture, should take 10 minutes. And if a person makes, $60 an hour, then we'll say, okay, we're going to give you $10. We're going to give you 1/6 of that to change that. So we actually write a check for the $10, send it to the village, plus you have the lights here that you can use, and then we replenish those lights as you use them.
So if this is a $100 light bulb right here, you're saying you're gonna get it to us for 80 the first year, right? That's the 20% guarantee.
Correct.
But if it comes in at 40, we still save the 20 and you get 40, right?
That's the cost of energy.
Right, but you get the 40. And
Correct.
then how does that calibration work its way down to
So
the payoff point where we're 10%? How does that get calibrated? Because you said the maximum life is 10%, right?
for an internal light, generally that's used 1,000 hours, it'll start at 20% and grow to 60. So your $100, if you're paying $100 now,
Right.
we'll subtract off the 20%, so you're going to pay 80. You're still going to pay your utility bill,
Right.
but that utility bill is going to be much smaller.
But we're gonna,
So if that utility bill right in the first year, say the utility cost is $25. So you're going to say, you were paying 100, Now you're paying 80, 25 is gonna go to the utility, and 55 will come to us.
Okay,
As that grows, your $100 is gonna drop, the second year it'll drop to like, say, 78, and then 76, and then
okay,
74.
so you have a schedule that you drop
It's a
it.
straight line, yep.
Okay, all right,
And so
that was my
every
question.
year, your savings goes up. You're gonna be spending a little bit less in year 2 than you were in year 1. And the way that you do that is that you're just gonna pay me less.
So at some point they come together, but they're 10% apart in order to cover,
Correct.
okay, got it, thank you.
Yeah.
Locally, who else have you worked with?
Our biggest client and our longest term one has been Auburn Hills. And just last week, we just signed the city of Rochester, the city of Coruna, and Shelby Township. A year and a half ago, we did all their buildings at that time. Then about 6 months ago, they purchased Boys and Girls Club and turned it into a new Parks and Rec and Senior Center. So we converted that. Just last week, we converted their lights in their parks. And starting today, we are converting their lights at their fire station, old fire station. They built a new one, and the old one they're converting to their maintenance facility. But we've done the city of Hamtramck. We've done Burton.
Mackinac?
Pardon me?
Mackinac?
Yes, Mackinac City, Flushing. Some say almost all the way down 69. So there's, and then this week we're also talking to Owasso and Duran, and we, God, why am I having a mental block?
There's like 5 reference letters, and I read some of them, and they seem pretty happy.
How long have you been around?
8 years. So, and like I said, we do private organizations as well, but municipalities are the ones that we like to concentrate on. And in fact, we like to do actually smaller communities because the bigger ones have the money that, oh yeah, they can just do it themselves, pay for it and get it done. And it's the smaller communities that are stuck with the less efficient lighting because they either don't have the funding to do it or the knowledge to do it or the manpower to do it. And so that's where we like to try to level that playing field. And like I said, we are a nonprofit, and the rates that we quote in the agreement, you'll see, those are minimum guaranteed rates. Those are rates that I know that I can hit. If you have a lot of, 4-lamp fixtures that are used a lot of, 24/7 or a lot of hours, those rates will definitely go higher. Because to the extent that there's any what would be considered excess profit, we don't keep that, we throw that back into the rates.
Now, would this be something that would start in different capacities, like we would maybe do our street lighting? That would be something, and then down the road decide to add on to that and do, Parks and Rec would be a different building, but just say we were gonna do this building. Is that how it would work?
Yes.
It would encompass, it can take on different segments as makes sense.
Correct, you determine the scope.
Okay.
And that's, so a lot of places, they have done it that way. They say, well, why don't you do a city hall or a village hall first, and then after you do that, okay, then we'll, do the rest. Or why don't you do the street lights, and after we do the street lights, then
That's
we
probably
do
our
the
biggest-
rest.
Right. It doesn't have to be, an all or nothing. We can pick and choose. I can tell you that the DTE focus is just on street lamps. They're not looking to convert every light bulb within the village hall and DPW and wastewater treatment and all of our municipal facilities to LED light bulbs. If you could just recap for council, just so that they understand how the assessment works, entering into the contract, what that actually obligates us to, because obviously there's no numbers in here.
Right.
Yes.
Right, yeah, in the agreement that we do ask to get signed before we do the assessment, that tells you what the basis would be for your savings. In there, I think it's on page 2, it'll say, for these type of fixtures, your savings will go 20 to 60, these type of fixtures will go 10 to 30. And for fixtures that are seldomly used under 1,000 hours a year, we will also look at converting those as well, just so that you can have a consistent look all the way through. Because a lot of times like closets or bathrooms or maintenance closets and that, those might be used an hour a day or a couple hours a day. So, they're not gonna get up to the 1,000-hour threshold. But we don't wanna put you in a situation where, well, is this our light or is this ERC's light? Can I use their inventory? Is it my inventory? Do I have to go buy it? So what we do is we will look at replacing everything. And for those seldom used lights, we're saying your savings on those are gonna be zero. Because there's gonna be so small, it's barely, and it's not actually even enough to cover our cost. But we do that as a service just so that, again, you have the same look, and it makes it a lot easier for your maintenance going forward, and you have the inventory here, and it'll give, like this room is amazingly consistent with the lighting quality. You rarely find that in a room. You'll find different color temperature lights and the different fixtures, because when a light goes out, you run to the big box store to grab a lamp, and whatever lamp they have on stock is what gets put. The other thing is that you won't see our lamps, you won't find our lamps at the big box store. There's nothing against them, but they're more interested in low price and average quality. Because I'm providing a full labor warranty, I want the best quality product. So I'm willing to spend a little more money to get a best quality product. The other thing that we do is we wire around the ballast in all the existing fixtures for the ones inside the buildings. If a ballast goes out, doesn't matter if you have a new tube in it or not, that light's not going to work. A lot of people right now are putting ballast compatible tubes in there and keeping the ballast in place. One, the ballast is drawing energy, and so we're more about saving energy than the cost aspect of it. So we pay the extra money up front to have the electricians remove the ballast so that all the electricity is going just directly to the tubes. And like I say, we will also try to see if there's a case where we can delamp. If the place is overlit, we will do a recommendation. Again, we'll say, yep, instead of putting 4 lamps in these fixtures, you can get away with 2 lamps in the fixtures. Again, it's because I'm not selling you anything, so I'm not looking to get the biggest buck up front. I'm looking to get the biggest savings for you on the back end.
And most of the time you do delamp, right? I mean,
Most
most of them are 50%, right? A 4 bulb goes to 2.
Right.
I mean, so you definitely are.
There's differences like with the prismatic lens covers that you have here, it's easy to delamp from 4 to 2. Right. And what we will generally do is we'll use a little bit higher wattage tube, like an 18-watt tube, so that it definitely gives out the same amount or even a little bit more lighting. But if you have those parabolic ones, which are the squares that look like the 8 cards, a lot of times you can't delamp those because they cause shadows. You'll see dark spots. So there, instead of using an 18-watt tube, we use an 11.5-watt tube, and we'll replace one for one. So again, aesthetics are just as important to us as the look. And if there's an area that's dark that you would like a light added to, we will look at doing that as well. Because just replacing a lighting system that you're not happy with, you're not going to be happy with. So we want you to be happy.
How much for the buy-in?
Nothing.
And we can pick, like you're saying, we can pick contractors and lights and such. We can pick a color, like
Yes.
a cooler, warmer,
Mhm.
that sort of thing.
Most definitely. Yeah, like I say, we will do a recommendation, and when we do our assessments, a lot of times we walk around, like I say, we are going fixture by fixture, room by room, building by building, street lights, street by street, whatever the case is. And we will ask the question, what are the issues with the current lighting? And so if people like it, a little brighter, if they don't want it as bright, and that's why then we also demo it. Because a lot of times when we say, well, do you want to use a 4,000 K light or a 5,000 K light? So then we say, well, we'll demo it so that you can then see it.
Now, can you explain to me what you mean by if we wanted to pull out, we would need to buy out? What does that entail? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, our program, like I say, when we do our assessment and we come back and we say, here's the plan, on the bottom of it it'll say, if you wanted to buy us out at day 1, this is the optional buyout price. That it's our cost. It's what we paid to
It's
do
your
it.
cost for the electrician, the bulbs, and everything you've got invested.
Correct.
If it's $100,000 to install it, all our buyouts probably 110 or 100.
Well, no, it would be whatever our cost, it would be
Okay.
100,000, right.
And then each year that buyout gets lower because you've made money.
Month by month, we give you a monthly depreciation, and it's based on the usage of the lights. So that, if the lights are 10% of their life is used in the first year, then it'll be 90%. But
Makes sense.
what we also do is, at the end of 2 years, we allow you to say, if you just want to get out of the program, you can return our lights to us and you're done. There's no future obligation. So there is no long-term commitment. Also, what we do is that at any time, if you say, we say, our cost was $100,000 to do this, say in a couple of years, they start making LEDs out of sand. And the cost of the LED lamp goes from being, $100,000 down to $20,000. Well, you say, but my buyout cost is at $50,000. We won't make you pay the $50,000. We take the lower of the current market value or the depreciated value of what our lights are. So you're always protected, so you'll never be paying more than market price.
So if you just mentioned return the lights back to you, so then would you re-hook back up the existing system, or would just be left in dark?
The lights that are in the fixtures you're
You gotta make a
buying.
trip to that
Pardon me?
big box store and
The
buy a
lights
lot of
that are
light
in the
bulbs.
fixture we would have bought.
That's what
If
I'm
we
asking.
opt out all the extras that you have on supplier going back, or
Well, the lights that you have currently in there are fluorescent lights, and even if you decide to return our fixtures, you're not going to want to go back to fluorescent because your costs are going to go up. You would replace it with LED lighting, and to the extent that if the LED replacement lighting, whatever that cost is, we will agree to match that if you want just to leave our lights in place and buy us out, as opposed to taking out ours and putting in new.
are you physically putting fixtures in, or are you rerouting around? You're taking the ballast, you're gonna use this fixture right here, right?
Correct.
You'd rewire, take the ballast out, route around the ballast, and replace it with whatever grade LED bulb you think. So if we opt out, you would grab the LEDs and put another LED that's not yours in there, that's what we'd have to do? Does that
If
explain?
you decide to opt out of the program, then you would have to return the lights to me, and then it would be your responsibilities to replace
So
it.
you would have to go to
Right.
wherever I'm buying LED lamp and stick it in the hole.
Right.
But we wouldn't be left in a hole in the ceiling, the fixture's not disappearing.
That is correct. It
Okay.
is your fixture. And the other thing is, we'll also look at when we're wiring around the ballast, if the tombstones, which are the little things on the side that hold the lights in place, if those are cracked or frailed or, in any way damaged, we will replace those as well. Because like I say, we really don't want to have to revisit these lights before, it's the life is that the manufacturer says these lights are going to last.
The chances are the tombstones come with the wiring anyways, right? You just hook 'em
Well, we use the existing wiring.
Okay.
Can you just briefly touch on too, if we decided to participate in your program, especially with the street lighting downtown? Where you and I talked about replacing those lamps with maybe more of a downcast
Right.
instead of the globe, which are discolored and a little bit yellow, to just alleviate some of that ambient uplighting. Talk briefly about what that cost would be of switching out the street lamps.
Yeah, so again, it will depend on the type of fixture that you have, but a lot of the lights that we've used in other neighboring communities, it's called a ring of fire, and it has, the LED chips are actually at the top of the fixture head so that they shine down. A lot of the ones that you see out there now, it's a bulb at the bottom of the fixture and it has like a reflector at the top that the bulb shines up and the reflector shines the light down. But then you still lose a fair amount of light up into the sky. The ring of fire is, like I say, generally, it's a decorative fixture head that we take the fixture that's on the pole off and we put that on. For a lot of DTE ones that are on an arm, those they're called cobra heads because it kind of looks like a cobra head. We remove the fixture that's there and then we slap on the new fixture. so that the fixture itself is brand new. Very rarely do we retrofit an existing exterior fixture because they generally have a little bit more wear and tear due to the elements. So like I say, if it's on a pole light, it'll be a Cobra head, which it's a flat light, and again, and the lights are angled, and it'll shine down. I know a lot of the security safety forces, police forces, prefer the LED lighting because it gives it a truer light on the street. It gets rid of that yellowish color that can distort the color of a vehicle. Or
So the cost of those fixtures are absorbed with your program, and your payback is on the savings, or the delta
Correct.
between our savings and what we've agreed to commission you
Correct.
for.
And to the extent if they're DTE-owned poles, then we'll ask you to, and we've dealt with Brandon on a number of cases. In fact, we're dealing with them in a couple of different cities right now. Then we ask you to write a letter to him allowing him to negotiate with us. But I mean, DTE, their prices are pretty set.
Okay.
You know, they have set pricing, but in their case, you have to use their crews. You have to use their crews and you have to use their lamps. And so they will go through and they'll say, okay, you know, if this is the wattage lamp you have, this is what they will put in, and you have to contract with them. And they are actually done doing work for this year, so we would have to get on their schedule for the springtime, and then they will get to it when they get to it next year. For village-owned lighting, we can do that whenever.
Do you know what we have?
We have a mix. So we have to do an assessment, and that's part of the work that Brandon is doing when he's putting together his proposal. So I don't have those numbers yet.
Yeah. And a lot of times you could tell from the actual electric bill if they're city-owned or utility-owned.
Because he's not just talking just central business district,
Right.
it's all of our street lighting, right? Yeah.
So. And let's say, you know, and that generally, when you deal with DT, it is a chunk of change. The city of Centerline was, they had 400 and some utility-owned streetlights, and we end up writing a check to DT right up front. You know, we had to write it up front just to get put on their schedule, not knowing when they would actually convert it, but it was over $250,000 to do their lights.
They're 1 square mile, too. I believe Centerline, same size as us.
Yeah, we don't have as many
Right,
lights.
that's true.
Yeah.
Cool.
Any further discussion?
Very thorough, thanks, Jim.
Jim, I
That's
thank you for the
interesting.
great presentation. I thank you. George is the one that sort of made the initial phone call up to me, and
Thanks,
then we invited him to come and give a presentation. You're certainly welcome to stay if you want for, your agenda item is under new business, but know that I will probably recommend, of course, it's whatever the board wants to do, that we just wait 30 days until we get the DTE proposal, and I believe I conveyed that to you, just so that we make sure we have the full picture of everything. But it's a great program, and I appreciate all the effort, and you're coming to speak with us.
And DTE's proposal is their cost to swap them out, to do what we've asked them to do the last couple of years, right? Okay.
Yep. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks, Jim.
gentlemen.
Thank
And
you.
Merry Christmas. Thanks.
Okay, let's move on to item number 8. We have public forum. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to address this board on any agenda item? All right, hearing none, we can move on to our officer reports. Let's start with my president's report. This month, Catherine and I attended a lot of the same events, and I believe she's captured most of those in her report, so I'll let her mention them. I had a meeting with HRC, Huppel, Roth and Clark, and consultant James Vetrano to view the initial assessment management plan for our roads. Their findings of significant inadequacies are not surprising, but the price tag is pretty hefty, and they would like to schedule a meeting to present their findings and funding options to this board in January. I attended a small focus group meeting for Parks and Recreation. The goal of the meeting was to establish a baseline path in which to move forward, keeping our Parks and Rec tied together as tri-community collaboration. We're waiting to hear what support exists within the Washington Township Board, and hopefully we'll have some news on that before the end of the year, if we can keep it tri-community, and that's our hope, and that's our goal. I worked with our village planner, Steve Casson, on several ordinance updated requests, residential fencing, that was an update request that came from the planning commission. And the HDC submitted a dangerous building demolition language that they want our ordinance updated with those. So I gave them both to Mr. Casson. I asked him to review that in relation to the Zoning and Enabling Act, just to make sure everything was in alignment with the state laws. He'll then offer his feedback and present it to Planning Commission so that they can review them on their level. Mr. Casson would also like us to schedule another public meeting for continuation of updating our master plan. He suggested Monday, January 13th, or Tuesday, January 28th. Please check your schedules and let me know your availability, if you could do that in the next day or two, so that I could get the public notified.
What was it?
Are you
Two
gonna send
dates
an
again?
email out, or you want us to
13th?
just respond?
January 13th or the 28th. You could text me or send me an email, call
But
me.
you're not
doesn't
sending
matter.
an email out to us
They're
to
both
respond
Mondays.
to?
I can, if you think
I mean-
that's the easiest way. Those are your two dates.
Because then we can get a consensus if everybody like,
Correct. Well, let me just finish this thought, because
All right.
HRC and Mr. Vitrino would also like to do their presentation of that road asset management plan that same evening. So they'd like to take the first half an hour of that public meeting, give us that overview, and then we can get the overview on the master plan, both open to the public in the new meeting room, and it'll be very informative. At the same meeting room we had the master plan kickoff before that, because it accommodated the public so well. I'm recommending that we do it on Tuesday, January 28th, only because I was worried that the 13th really wouldn't give us enough time to organize and get the word out. It's only a couple weeks, obviously, after the new year, but I didn't know how you all felt about a Tuesday, so,
I like Tuesdays better than Mondays.
I know.
I'll have to miss bowling.
yep, Tuesdays, the 28th is good for me.
Okay. So I'll send out an email and I'll just ask for confirmation of the 28th then.
I'll have to miss choir practice. It's all good.
Sorry. I had a meeting this afternoon with John Paul Rea and several of his staff members to get an update on the Ford engine plant. He assured me that their office is actively looking at feasibility options. They will aggressively seek Ford support for the Village of Romeo's financial stability, and of course, there's much more to play out in the coming months as we see this process play out. We're still being just told that December of 2022. I don't really have a timeline, and that's my initial request, that I need to understand what that looks like. And lastly, just a couple of quick reminders. If anyone still needs a free recycling cart, please give the village offices a call and one will be delivered to your address by GFL. If you've already requested one and it has not yet been delivered to your address, you can still have your items picked up in any container marked recycling, and GFL will pick it up on Thursdays with the regular trash collection. Leaf vacuuming by the DPW and yard waste pickup by GFL have both concluded for the season. Good job, Tim and crew. That was quite a job, really. It was quite a job.
It's a never-ending
Right.
job.
If any residents still have leaves that they need to dispose of, you're welcome to take them to the DPW site and utilize the composting pile there. No bags, please. Don't forget our community engagement event in the partnership with Grubner Library with the Tree Board is scheduled for January 23rd. Urban forestry, improving your property value and our community with trees. That's the tagline for that event. The Mitt TV would like to record personal Christmas greetings by each one of us trustees after this meeting, so don't rush off, please, so we can, they'll roll that with the footage. The village recorded ours last week, or was it this last week? Yes. And next, a reminder that our next regular council meeting is Tuesday, January 21st, not the Monday, because the 20th is Martin Luther King Day. And based on the long list of agenda items that are already forming, it'll be a lengthy meeting. So,
What's the date?
heads up.
We've either moved,
20
we've always moved it a week.
21st?
Correct, and then this time when we looked at those meeting dates, we decided to move it laterally one day instead of up. Again, because it's so difficult to come back after the closing of the holidays and just have a few too short weeks to prepare,
So
so.
probably the same issue in February
July.
also.
Yes, we did the same thing. Yep, so we'll give it a try. So Tuesday, we'll see you. I'll send out another reminder
Yeah,
later.
it's like already in my calendar. How did I do that?
Probably, hopefully when we voted on it, you put it in there just so that you could go play hockey on the 20th. All right, that's it for my report.
On December 2nd, I attended along with President Malzahn a CDBG workshop, Community Development Block Grant Workshop, for their upcoming grant funding competition. Applications are due February 13th, and it's for a community project within the village. However, the guidelines are very tight, so we're still reviewing what kind of project we could qualify for. On December 4th was the State of the County address in Macomb Community College. I attended with President Malzahn and Trustee Hart. It was nice to hear Mark Hackle name drop Romeo a few times, talking about Arlington Automotive coming into our industrial district. And he did mention Romeo Ford, but he didn't do it in the negative. And on December 5th, the next day, I attended with President Malzahn a ribbon cutting for the Tri-County Bank on South Main Street. Very nice event, was well attended. Very happy to welcome them to the community, and nice to see that that property has turned out to be a lovely building with lovely landscaping. And that same night was the Christmas parade in the village, where we welcomed Santa to the village. It was also nice to see such a large crowd gathered in our village park. Also, Santa's elves are hard at work getting all of the letters to Santa out of the letterbox. Just a reminder that December 18th, this Wednesday, will be the last day the box will be in town, because the elves want to make sure those who wrote Santa get a response by Christmas. And there is an opening on our cemetery board. One of our members has moved out of the village, therefore can no longer serve. Excuse me. Anyone interested can forward me a letter or email for consideration. The remaining board members are scheduling a January meeting day and time to be announced. That's my report.
Okay, thank you. Treasurer Maddox.
December 5th, I balanced with Macomb County, and I'm ecstatic with that, because that was a process. And I just want to thank Bruce and Washington for providing all the assistance and support that they did with me balancing out. I was also able to, on December 5th, then give the necessary disbursements to the Downtown Development Authority. Carol was excited about that. On December 10th, I attended the Macomb County Treasurers Association, and I also joined that organization, and it sounds like they have quarterly meetings, and it'll give me a great opportunity to network with the other treasurers and the bankers as well. Over the past year, we've updated and consolidated 26 bank accounts into 3 accounts, the general accounts payable and payroll, and I just signed the additional paperwork necessary in our general account. It will be a overnight sweep account earning interest that is tied to the U.S. Treasury. And last I spoke to Rob, our banker, that interest rate was about 1.1%, so that's going to be a significant amount of interest. And then the last thing is we had a CD that renewed last week. The new maturity date will be March 10th, 2020, and that interest rate that we're earning on that CD is 1.55%. So we're earning some interest.
Some
Yay.
interest,
And we
yeah.
have some more funds that we should be able to invest hopefully within the next couple of weeks as well. We received confirmation of that from the auditor's report provided today. So thank you, and I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. I didn't get the opportunity. I was at the Treasurers Association meeting Tuesday. To all the residents and everyone
Stick
out
around
there.
and you can record a greeting with us.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Great.
You're more than welcome to do that.
And you have a Christmas sweater on.
Exactly, just burn the right color. Okay, trustee reports. Anybody have anything to report this month?
I guess the one thing I want to say is the correspondence that you had received did mention something I had said at the meeting last time, and I did just put together something, just a simple statement. I'd like to say, although my comment made at last month's meeting was innocent, I can understand it being taken differently. And as a public official, I fully agree it should not have been said at a public meeting, and for that I apologize.
I was also called out in that correspondence, and in that correspondence, there was no sarcasm intended, and if it was taken as such, I also apologize. It was not intended.
Anybody else? All right, move on to our ex officio planning commission. Any updates from the planning commission?
No, except your meeting on the 28th, but we'd like to meet before then. I've been in touch with you.
Sorry, the
Um,
meeting on the 28th, the master plan meeting?
Yes, the master plan.
Oh, okay.
So we'd like to meet before then. as far
I
as
think
the board.
Steve is meeting with you separately.
Okay.
And that, so this meeting is intended more for the council members and the public to sort of
Correct.
get an idea and understand what the dialogue is,
So as
so.
the last time you had your master plan meeting, we as a group would have liked to have met before that meeting, to be more prepared.
Okay,
Okay, so
so,
that's my communication with most of us. We'd like to meet before we have that meeting.
okay.
Me?
Yeah, well,
So, like,
usually we
I
get
tried-
our responses, there's nothing on the agenda for this week, so it's canceled. So if we could get beyond that.
Meet anyway.
By you mean the planning commission,
Yes.
not this board,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, okay.
yeah.
Well, from my understanding, Casson, Mr. Casson spoke to Mr. Stenger in regards to, yes, they wanted, between the two of them, wanted to plan a workshop with the planning commission. I don't know the date and time of that, but I would have thought it would be prior to this meeting, so I know those two were working
I
on
know,
it.
usually we have our monthly schedule, but
Correct,
then we get
right.
that email from you saying, there's nothing on the agenda, so it's canceled. But if we
Okay.
could just keep that out there and just say, okay,
Oh,
we're
sure.
gonna meet.
Yeah.
And not-
Oh, yeah, and
Yes.
Just
I'll
don't
Yeah.
cancel.
reach out to
Yeah, just-
Mr.
yeah, just
Stenger and
don't
see if
cancel.
he's
So we can all
got
get
any
together and then-
communication or a
yes,
date plan for
that
you
would work.
guys.
Perfect, let's move on then to quickly committee reports. Armada Sewer, I'm in receipt of some correspondence from Armada Township. I have forwarded that on to Mr. Hart and Mr. Edwards, the subcommittee members serving with me. Armada Township reviewed it at their board level and they offered some conditional changes. So I also forwarded it on to Mr. Clark. We have yet to meet. I told Mr. Getzinger that we probably would not do that until after the beginning of the year, but that we would get back with him quickly so that we could see if the process could still move forward. They have that extension in place until June 30th of 2020. I think one of the big changes, if I understood it correctly, was that the contract and the extension we offered so that the project would be operational, but they would like to sort of change that to have begun by June 30th. So I'm not sure how that time frame will affect us, but we'll get together. I'll throw out another email and hopefully we can meet at the beginning of the year. Parking lot committees, anything happened on that?
Nothing really. Nathan just gave me another quote, and then he recused himself from the committee, so I don't know if anybody else wants to jump on the committee, but me and Bob can handle it, I'm sure. But other than that, I have not heard from the church yet, so.
Okay, perfect. Just let me know when they are, and if I'm available, I'm happy to jump on board and go over there and meet with them.
Will do.
All right, nothing under unfinished business, so let's quickly move on to new business. We have the Energy Reduction Coalition proposal. You see that. Again, it is my recommendation that we just sort of table that proposal for 30 days until we hear from DTE, but,
Second it?
okay. So any, I guess, do we do all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so we'll table that for 1 month. Moving quickly, we have a 2020 holiday closing calendar. You have the pages, it's in alliance with the non-union employees, that contract that renewed, so these are the dates that are scheduled according to that.
Has anything changed?
No,
Is this all, okay.
yep, this should align right with that, so. Entertain a motion
I'll
to
make a
approve
motion
the,
to
okay?
accept those recognized holidays. Is that just, again, dovetails with or lines with the union?
Yes, Well, non-union, the union employees follow
Get
just a
these.
slightly theirs are slightly different,
Okay.
but these are the dates that
You
the
pulled back on
office.
this a little bit, didn't
Yes.
you? Okay, so the union gets a couple more days, this one is,
They're a little bit different. I think
Okay.
they're the same number of days, but they don't necessarily get the eves off. But they have a union party, so they get a day off for that, and I think they get a day off for their birthday. So there may be one or two that the DPW would work. Of course, our police officers are always working, so
And are these paid?
these are paid holidays. Yep.
okay.
So
I'll put
is
that
your motion still
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
Motion by Hart, support by Bartholomew. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, then I asked to have the leaf bag discussion moved up under C, just because I wanted to mention, we had some difficulties again this year. The equipment is aging significantly, it is in disrepair, and Tim has said we need new equipment. That purchase should run, he's estimating about $115,000. And I just wanted you to be aware that we have to place the order the beginning of the year because they're built on order in order to take delivery for the fall of 2020. That would be the expenditure. So we would have to certainly leave a deposit. Right, we would have to leave a deposit and then pay the balance. So making the truck purchase that's also before you and the deposit may put the balance, that line item, out of budget, out of the way we budgeted for the motor pool capital funds. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
The deposit would
that-
be in 2019, 2020
The
budget?
deposit, correct.
And then the,
I'm not sure if they require a deposit. Dan never said that he required a deposit to order it. We just need to get it ordered March, April to have it in time for fall.
And this is a trailer just like we got,
It's
but
basically the exact same thing we got.
So it would come out of
Checked
next
in
year's
the-
budget.
If we
Really
budgeted it for,
2020.
it would, right, it's still a bigger, a budget line item than we ever had before. Typically, we budget $100,000 for those sorts of motor pool purchases, capital purchases, so it would be more than that for next year. We would have some money then left if we don't have to give the deposit in the motor pool fund for this purchase or anything else that he may need to get for this fiscal year. But I also wanted to mention in that, because I just want you to think about this for the next, because he's gonna work on the actual proposal and getting you some numbers before we approve that purchase. But I didn't want you to go into purchasing a vehicle without some consideration to what that actually costs, that $110,000 or $15,000 for the new equipment. It takes one of our DPW workers about 6 solid weeks, 40 hours a week, to do that service. So, and then whatever crew time they have repairing the equipment if it breaks down. New equipment should be less breakdowns, but we still, have to
We need a
anticipate.
new vehicle?
It costs
No,
us
it's a
about
trailer.
$14,000
Oh,
for leaf pickup.
the leaf sucker.
The leaf
Including
sucker is a
repairs,
separate thing.
manpower.
That's
it's a
what
trailer.
Can I-
If we continue to do
Sure.
that, that shot,
I'll
that
try.
trailer.
Okay.
I was
They
down
pull
working,
the
doing
truck.
some work down in Oak Park and noticed this unique thing they had to pick up the leaves. It's called the claw. Looks like a blade, but then the two outside ends fold up into like a V and they just run it right along the curb, grab everything. Hooks onto a payloader or a backhoe, the front end.
Okay,
And it just seems so economically useful as opposed to sucking up everything with a vacuum cleaner.
You'd have to have everything in the street though. You couldn't pick them up off the
yeah,
lawn.
everything would have to be in the street and it'd be a 3-man project. You'd have to have one guy in the backhoe and 2 guys running dump trucks to keep up with it.
Yeah, I guess that's the way they did it down there, but it was just,
And then by that, nothing else gets done with the manpower I have.
so with our vacuum cleaner, we're able to suck it off in the median and everything else.
I mean, yes.
And
what
it
was
only
the
takes
number?
one guy then?
You said about $14,000
And it only takes one
Per
guy
season.
rather than
per
three.
season is what it
It
costs.
it costs us like 13,000, around 13,500 for
Man.
this year. And let's see here, about 3,000 of it was labor for repairs.
I guess that's what I'm looking at, is that
And
we're constantly doing maintenance
4,000
on
of it
this
was labor for parts. So about half of it was repairs and maintenance.
And it's 20 years old, right?
It's going on 20 years old, yes.
Is the new one any more efficient? Is it doing any faster? Is it basically the
It-
exact same machine with a?
It's basically the exact same machine. It'd be probably a little more efficient on fuel. I mean, the quickness depends on the weather. I mean, when the leaves are dry before they get rained on, I mean, we can make some time, and I mean, we can get, like on the southwest quadrant, I mean, we can get 3-4 streets done a day. But when it gets wet, like at the end of the season here, I mean, it takes us, half a day to do 1 street.
Is there any trade-in or value to what we have?
Scrap value?
Possibly, but the other thought that we had was keeping the old one for when we do have prime situations,
You can get both out.
get both out. We can do, one guy work on the south end of town, the other guy work on the north end of town.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, if it's not worth
Get them up
anything.
before, it snowed on.
That was the problem this year with the snow.
Yeah,
Right,
that was
the
the biggest
snow, the
thing. that
rain, and
held
then
us
the
back.
big
We
froze
lost-
and-
Leaves didn't fall in then it snowed.
Yeah, we lost a week, waiting for the snow to melt, and then by that time they were wet and hard to pick up.
So then the claw would work.
Then at the end of the
But the
And
thing,
last week, they were froze to the curb pan, so,
Right.
We might invest,
I mean, we picked up.
at least have it around.
Logistically, it's kind of a problem, and, you know, I'd like to figure out a way to communicate that better to our residents of when they're actually gonna be in their neighborhood, because, you know, they go through and they suck them all up, and then there's 2 homeowners that didn't get a chance to get their leaves raked, so then they're, you know, they're raked out, and then people think, well, they didn't come down my street, but they did the other 5 houses, just not those 2, and then they gotta circle back and go back and do that. Or residents parking on the street and blocking access to the leaves are there. There was, you know, a couple of houses that they had to go back 3 or 4 or 5 times because the vehicles were still in the way. And luckily, you know, Tim and his crew were so accommodating to just go back and make sure that they, you know, took care of those residents, and I appreciate that.
I mean,
But-
some municipalities just run through and put a tag on the tree saying leaf cleanup tomorrow, but
Something that to
your
absolutely
vehicle will be
consider.
towed if it's still there.
I mean, we
but-
already do pay with our GFL service for yard waste pickup. So if we didn't do leave back service at all, the residents' leaves would still be picked up, they would just have to be raked and bagged.
Yeah, 280 bags later.
I'm not saying that's ideal, but I'm just throwing out, you know, the scenario that we have to look at the expenditure of both labor and, you know, money for the service.
would it be
And
fair to say, Tim, if you just take, like, let's just say 10 years for the 120, just work with regular numbers, that's gonna give us $12,000 a year, plus maybe $10,000 for operating with a man, so it's gonna cost about a little over $20,000 a year to have our leaf service.
Yes,
Would that
I mean,
be-
there is normal maintenance that we have to do every year on it, like the impeller in the vacuum housing. Usually, depending on how much dirt gets raked into the piles, I mean, people put their, you know, their flower pots, they dump them into piles. And when
What do we do with everything that's there? That gets compost and,
it gets
just-
dumped out behind the DPW, and then we spread it out for, turns into compost.
so that just goes away?
Yeah, but anyways, you have to replace the impellers, and there's a steel liner, like a wear liner inside the impeller housing that gets replaced. Those are the 2 biggest things, I mean.
So maybe
they have to
$20,000,
replace.
$25,000 a year is what it costs for that service, and do we want to continue that as a village?
Right, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to
Yeah.
think about it, to, you know, talk to your residents. I'm not advocating one way or the other, I just wanted to throw out reality of what this looks like, and so that you can all consider it while Tim works on getting a proposal in the next couple of months to us.
And GFI will pick up bags through November?
We're
GFL.
done.
GFL.
But they're
excuse me.
done, yes, yeah.
Through November, though?
Usually
Yeah.
for
What we
through
pay for.
Thanksgiving, yes, mm-hmm,
They did
They
extend
start-
it a week this month.
for this year, right,
This year.
yeah.
Yeah, but, so,
Is it
I don't
April?
know.
Is it April or May? Or-
April it starts.
It's
How
April
long have we
through
done the
Thanksgiving.
leaves? Before the 20 years?
Forever.
Yeah, as long as I remember.
Forever, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a blessing that
Yeah.
we live
They
in a town
usually,
that does that.
years ago, they used to do it with 2 backhoes.
They did.
Yep.
2 dump trucks and.
I remember seeing them.
I mean, it was,
Yeah.
I mean,
Scooping
it
them
was,
up,
you
dumping
know,
them in the
5-man
back
job.
of the
That's why when I seen that thing,
Yeah,
So what do you guys think? You all think it's good?
yeah, probably.
I think
I think it's good. It's good service.
Yeah, I think it's
I think
great.
people appreciate it,
They do.
Yep, they do.
I do.
because 20 bags is a lot of bags to fill out.
It is.
You're not getting any younger.
And it's got 3 100-foot piles, 8 foot deep, so that's more than 20 bags.
Okay, so, that takes care of the leaf bag discussion. Then we can move on to the DPW truck purchase.
Ooh, I
You wanna talk, right? He needs a truck, and he needs the box that goes on the truck, so there are
Basically,
2.
the price that you have there is the cabin chassis, and I'm still waiting for another bid on the dump box to go on it. I've got 2 bids right now, one's 14,000, and the other one's 16,000. So, the max, more than likely, is gonna be the $16,000 bid, so you're probably looking total package, 65, 66,000.
It's just, have we budgeted for this?
Yes.
But, and Signature up in Owasso, one
Yes,
of the best?
they're basically the only ones that do municipal bidding. I mean,
Gotcha.
a lot of the local dealers, you check with them, and no, we don't do government bidding.
Because I think the police.
They basically hold the, you want to call it, municipal contract.
This is the one we agreed to a while back, or is this a different?
This is a new vehicle, this is a different.
This is to replace the small dump truck that we use to do trash and do all the barricades and the burials at the cemetery.
Oh, this is a 550. This is a...
Yes, the
Yes.
550.
A real truck.
It's the smaller truck. And in the future, we also need to think about replacing our plow trucks. As those are going on 20 years old also, and parts are becoming obsolete when we're calling the dealers.
So that's why I wanna talk about the leaf back, because if we budget 100,000, this is gonna be 68, and then next fiscal year, we'd be over that budget if we're purchasing the leaf back equipment, and then we need snow plows, so,
And Ford might not be
and
here.
Ford might. But, I mean, it's all, the equipment that's needed to
Yeah.
continue the
The
village,
service
the
we have.
DPW work, right, they have to empty the trash cans, they have to have, a heavy-duty truck that can haul that stuff around, so that's why the proposal's here in front
So
of
do you
you.
need a motion?
I do.
I'll make a motion to purchase the truck that Tim has recommended
Support.
for $48,642.
And then I don't mean to speak over you, but he's got the box on top of it, which is about another 16.
To include the box on top of it for $16,000.
No more than 66,000, how about we say that?
Because it
Well,
was
that's-
12,
Not to-
48 and
12,970.
change for,
Not to exceed $66,000.
And what will that leave you in the budget for this year?
if we do 66, that'll leave 34.
I'll still,
Yes, for 6 months, okay. So motion by Edwards, support by Poznanski. Can you take a roll call, please?
Edwards,
Yes.
Poznanski,
yes.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Seidel,
Yes.
President Malzahn,
Yes.
motion carried.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
We expect the first ride when it comes
What,
in, okay?
what color do you guys want? We've
White or
got,
red?
We've got,
There you go.
get Omaha,
Silver.
Omaha orange, school bus yellow, DNR green,
Oh,
What's cheaper?
white.
white?
White, no silver?
White it is.
You knew the answer to that
Maybe you
question
could get some
before you
yellow
asked it.
pinstriping, I don't know.
There's some bulldog stickers, red stickers.
There you go.
All right, up next, we have the SCADA license approval purchase. Al, you're up.
Good evening.
All right.
No money, Al. It's all good.
Sorry, Al.
Tim, you gotta get on the agenda ahead of time.
You know, we were talking about that, when you guys put the leaf truck ahead, I cursed at him a little bit, and said, why? Okay,
All right, I'm gonna be
So-
cautious with that next time. Al goes first, all right?
Got it.
Okay.
Really noted.
so we've been updating our SCADA computer, the computer that runs the plant. We are on the third leg of the expansion of the computer system. This is the last. Like I said, the last 2 years I came to you with money, asking for money, and we've gotten the first two parts. Right now we are still running the old computer and the new computer in parallel. Now we're going to get rid of the old computer and
Go for
just beyond that.
Hope everything keeps flowing.
This includes also doing some, writing a program for me to capture the data, the flow data, so I can drop that into my reports. This does not include, we have 4 outlying small computers, they're the screens. We're going to stick with the ones we have for now, but as those, when they go, we'll have to upgrade to the new ones. But they wanted $13,000 a piece to replace each of those, and so I'm
For the
just going to wait
screen?
and replace them as they need to be replaced.
How old are they?
That's great.
2007, but they were old then. They're still running, but when you do low bid, sometimes there's little things in there that come back and bite you. You get old technology that's already old, right? So when we got these screens, they were already old technology. They weren't old, they were old
They went
technology.
$13,000 a piece.
Well,
for
what
the
it is
screen?
these are touchscreen computers, the
Yeah.
ones that are in there. The thing that goes wrong generally is the screens die first.
Yeah.
But when it's all in one, when the screen goes, well, you can't use the whole thing. So the new ones would be little watertight computers with screens, and if the screens go, then you can just replace the screens. And that is they're,
Instead of being all in
yeah,
one
they're
unit.
specially made for harsh environments. Some of the places in the plant are harsh environments, so we're not gonna touch those until we need them.
But he's
None of
budgeted
it's
for this as well.
Right.
Yeah, I
So,
was gonna say, you
He's
should start planning. that.
budgeted for this, yep.
Yeah.
So is this the
none of it is
1995?
cheap.
One a year or
It's,
something like that.
It's a lot of it you see is licensing. Licensing is terrible. And then obviously the programming, we have a guy come out and he has to do the on-site, do all the programming on-site. That costs obviously money.
So this is a total of $19,095.
Yes.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the SCADA upgrade Phase 3.
Motion by Hart, do you
Good night,
support?
Second.
Support by Fowler. Roll call, please.
Hart,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Seidel,
Yes.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
President Mills.
Yes.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas to you, Al.
Merry Christmas, Al. Yeah.
What does the police department do?
I know.
I know, poor Dan's was sitting
I don't
there.
have anything.
He got to shave this week,
Yeah.
he's excited,
That's
right?
I'll talk to you next year.
There you go.
Yes, we got a new air conditioner, right? A new condenser coil for the air conditioner. The last item on our agenda is the First Street parking. So I included a copy of an email correspondence from Laura and Doug Pickett. They were not able to be here this evening due to their travel schedule. They initially requested from Catherine to remove the parking signs that are on the west side of First Street. Those street signs were put up with a parking issue that arose from the high school when the school was over maxed capacity. The young drivers would then come and they would first park on, I think it was Bradley Street, and then they put up no parking signs there just to deter them, and then it moved to First Street, and so then they put up no parking signs on that side of the street. I initialized a search, and I asked Mr. Clark to also just verify that we don't have an ordinance for those no parking signs. We have ordinances on the books that are on our fire lanes, and those sorts of things that would require an ordinance amendment if we wanted to remove or put up new signs. But these signs were just simply there to deter parking.
And I'd like to make the motion
That's kinda
to, I'd like to make the motion that we remove those signs.
I'll support, second.
Okay? It's easy.
Yeah.
Any
I mean, it's the way
discussion?
everybody else, all the other streets are.
Yeah. No
Till
more.
Right,
ninth
they're going to
graders start
remain on the
driving.
east side.
No more
So
high
you
school.
still
The fire
can park on
lane.
the east side, but the
Yeah.
homeowners then would be able to park on the
That's
west
the way
side.
most
so-
of the villages.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that was nice and easy. Last up on our agenda, public comments. Anybody who wanted to make a general comment or request of us? Hearing none? Oh,
I
yes,
live,
sure.
I live right on the corner of Muzzy and Dixon, right across from the elementary school. The people do not regard that stop sign. I don't think they see it. To me, sometimes they just run right across there, and it's mostly the families that has children there. Somebody's going to get hurt there.
Sounds like a good area for a visit.
Well, the police,
Officer-
they usually
Officer
be
Bauer
there.
does go
Yes,
out
there's
there.
some of them there. But sometimes when they do come, the people, they about gone, you know? They pick their children
And
up.
that's right happening when school is picking up and
Yeah,
dropping
and
off.
especially in the morning, they in a hurry to get to school, take their children to school, you know? But I'm afraid something is gonna happen
Well, I kinda had a
very
question.
bad. Why don't they, why can't they get a speed bump on the road,
About this
you know? I don't know, but you know, if they go so fast, they mess up their car, I bet they'll
Right.
start slowing down.
Right.
It's not a bad idea.
Well, we could certainly investigate that, the
Yeah,
implementation
that's
of a
horrible.
speed bump in that area.
Well,
I'm
I
sure
had
it would
something,
It's horrible.
I had a
not
question
do well
along
with our
that line,
snow
too.
plows, but
Chief, have we written some tickets out there, or
Yes,
Oh,
all the
they have
officers
been-
are aware of both,
are we writing tickets?
yes.
I've been there when they
We're
do it, and then
constantly
it
writing
just backs
tickets.
everything else up too. So it's a good thing, but then it's
Yeah, it causes
ruins the rest of
backup
the
too.
traffic, yeah.
So I had the same thought walking the dogs down Prospect Street. Can you do photo tickets? Can you take, I mean, can we stick up a, because their cars on Prospect Street are going 40. I mean, no matter what signs people put out there, no matter what, they're, I mean, can you literally do, is it worth investing in
Mr.
a
Clark?
photo image?
Well, the
I mean, you
problem,
can do them.
the problem
Scott
with
does.
us writing a ticket is it's a civil infraction, and it's something that we actually have to witness. For us to write a speeding ticket or a stop sign ticket or something
Because you
like
have to
that.
see who's driving.
Yeah, if it's a misdemeanor, somebody else can be the complainant on such a thing, but it would have to be a reckless driving complaint or something like that.
Does the
So-
county have those signs that are the flashing, you know, have the speed limit, you know, the ones that kind of warn, that tells you how fast you're going? Is that something we can
They might
borrow?
have some, I don't know if they lend them out or whatever, I know they're quite expensive to buy and
Right.
it's
I
not
mean, not that
something
we
I
would buy one,
recommend.
but if they're available, that for a period of time you could try some.
You can put up signs everywhere, the people see the signs. A lot of people feel that sign, it just doesn't apply to them, or they got a good reason on, you know, I gotta get my kid to school, or, you know, I'm right by my house, or, you know, I slowed down, nobody was coming, you know, that kind of thing. You can put up as many signs as you want, it doesn't mean that people are gonna abide by them.
So how does that work? Because not that
And
I
it's a
know.
lot of rolling stop.
Yeah.
They go right there, just go right on,
Yeah.
across
Because
and
that
turn
happens
the
on
corner.
Sisson, I mean,
So,
Sisson
yeah,
stuff.
the best way to curb it is what we do, enforce it. And then it's in the court's hands after that.
So
Thanks,
we're
Andrew,
doing
for
that.
bringing that up.
Yeah, we are
And I'm
definitely
scared
doing
sometimes he's gonna get hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah, well.
we'll get our police on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, put an arm.
Right. Anything else? Otherwise, motion to adjourn?
I'll make, oh, wait, go ahead, Sam.
Oh, here,
Okay, I'll make a motion.
I'm behind you.
Yep, Merry Christmas to you,
Yep,
right?
you too.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. There we go. I'm behind you.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?